Today is Tuesday, February 27th. We're talking about the first major swing state to go to the polls this election season and what changes are expected within the National Republican Party. Also, when President Biden says a ceasefire in Gaza may happen and a big expansion coming to NATO. Plus, what the FAA is saying about Boeing's safety culture a year into investigating, why the federal government wants to stop a supermarket merger, and how one generous donation is making medical school free for thousands of students. Those stories and more news to know today, next. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Today, both Democrats and Republicans have their sights set on Michigan, the first significant swing state to vote in the 2024 election cycle. Both President Biden and former President Trump are facing off against opponents who have not made much of a difference so far, but they also show no signs of dropping out. For Trump, that's former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, who has been campaigning in Michigan the last couple of days. For Biden, it's Democratic Congressman Dean Phillips. But Michigan voters also have the option of casting their ballots for uncommitted for either party. And there is a push for Democratic voters to do just that in protest of President Biden's support of Israel over the war in Gaza. That effort has the backing of Michigan Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib. But the Biden campaign says the president is working closely with the leaders of Muslim, Arab American, and Palestinian communities, saying he, quote, knows the importance of earning the trust of every community. Today's race is the final major contest before the election calendar broadens dramatically on Super Tuesday, and that's next week. That's when more than a dozen states will hold elections with thousands of delegates at stake. Biden and Trump are expected to clinch their party's nominations soon after. Stay tuned. The head of the Republican National Committee has decided to step down. RNC Chair Ronna McDaniel says she is leaving her post next week. The move does not come as a big surprise as former President Trump gets closer to the Republican presidential nomination. He's been pushing for her to go for a while now, since he wanted the RNC to cancel primary debates and back him in the 2024 process instead, which McDaniel refused to do. More recently, Trump has said he would prefer North Carolina's GOP chair to take over, with his daughter-in-law, Lara Trump, serving as co-chair. She has suggested the RNC cover the former president's legal bills. But the GOP has also been struggling to raise money under McDaniel. At last check, the RNC reported $8.7 million in the bank as compared to the DNC's $24 million. RNC members from across the country are expected to approve Trump's picks next month. In a scary moment, first responders had to rush to the aid of former President Trump's son yesterday. Donald Trump Jr. opened his mail to discover a death threat and white powder inside an envelope. This is actually the second time Trump Jr. has been the target of a letter containing white powder. The first time, law enforcement officials determined it was not harmful. This time, investigators are still working to figure out exactly what it was. But Trump Jr. seems to be okay. This is just the latest in a series of recent threats against political candidates and public officials. The FBI still has multiple investigations open. In a move that could shape the future of Gaza after the war, the Palestinian Authority's government has resigned. Western and Arab leaders have been pressuring the Palestinian Authority to make big changes like that. It currently governs the Palestinian population centers in the West Bank, and it used to control Gaza before Hamas forcibly took over. But the U.S. has called for a reformed Palestinian Authority to take over Gaza next, something Israel's government has resisted. Still, changes are happening. For now, resigning ministers will keep working until a new government is formed. President Mahmoud Abbas is also staying and working on forming that new government, even though he is still facing pressure to step aside as well. Right away, he tasked officials to prepare a plan for the reconstruction of Gaza. Meanwhile, negotiators are still working to broker a ceasefire deal to hopefully avoid more civilian deaths, set hostages free, and keep the war from further spreading across the region. And yesterday, President Biden says he's hoping a ceasefire can take effect within days. Though at least publicly, Israel and Hamas still seem far apart. Israel still says it won't end the war until Hamas is eliminated, and Hamas says it won't free hostages without an agreement to end the war. To be continued. It is finally official. Sweden is joining NATO. The Nordic country cleared its last hurdle yesterday when Hungary gave its go-ahead. Sweden's bid has been held up for the last 2 years since every NATO country has to give approval for a new member to join the alliance, and Hungary was the final holdout. NATO leaders have been pressuring Hungary, saying Sweden's membership will only make the alliance stronger and all of us safer. And that's especially the case since NATO wants to deter Russia, even as some members are struggling to give Ukraine enough aid to stop Russia's invasion. Both Sweden and NATO's other new member, Finland, sit between Russia and the rest of NATO. And they both have strong militaries, complete with hundreds of warplanes and tanks and tens of thousands of soldiers. There are just a few more minor formalities to go, then a flag-raising ceremony is expected at the NATO headquarters in Brussels later this week. We have much more news for you still coming up. But first, I have so much to say about our new sponsor and my new Vessi shoes. I've been wearing Vessi shoes for at least a month now, and they are honestly my new go-tos for every day and for fun adventures. First of all, I was really excited that they are extremely waterproof because they don't actually look like they are. They're super stylish, they're lightweight, they're breathable, and yet I can wear them rain or shine. No more complaining about the rain or letting a puddle get in my way. But it doesn't stop there. I genuinely appreciate the comfort of these shoes, and they're both fashionable and functional enough to be multi-purpose. I have the weekend Vessi shoes in white, and I wear them with pretty much everything, socks or no socks, whether I'm going out with friends or going to the park with my family. And because I'm always on the go, I truly appreciate how easy they are to get on and off. That was an added benefit I didn't know to expect. I've gone days without touching a lace. You've got to try these shoes for both your everyday and your weekend adventures. They're stylish, comfortable, and waterproof. They might be the only shoes you'll need all year. Head over to vessi.com/newsworthy to explore their versatile collection and claim your 15% discount on your first order. Yes, 15% off for our listeners. So embrace every moment, come rain or shine, with Vessi. Go to vessi.com/newsworthy. Okay, now back to the news. A private moon lander that made history last week seems to be at the end of its journey. The Odysseus lander is expected to stop working today, a few days short of what NASA and other customers had been counting on. Remember, Odysseus is the first American spacecraft to land on the moon in more than 50 years, and it's carrying experiments for NASA. But it came in too fast for the landing, so one of the feet got caught on the surface of the moon, causing it to tumble over. Still, the mission was not a total wash. At least some of the solar panels and antennas are still pointed in the right direction. So the lander has been sharing photos from the unexplored region near the moon's south pole. Odysseus has also been able to detect other safe landing spots within the South Pole region that could be useful for future missions. U.S. regulators put out an extremely critical report pushing Boeing to improve its safety culture. It was put together by a panel of experts convened by the FAA in the wake of 2 deadly crashes a few years ago. They say there have been constant changes to complex procedures and trainings that have led to confusion, and that other shortcomings hurt the average employee's understanding of their role in safety. Like, many of them don't know how to flag potential safety issues, and some just choose not to out of fear of retaliation. They also mentioned a breakdown in communications between senior management and other staff members. And keep in mind, this investigation came well before the incident earlier this month when a panel flew off the side of an Alaska Airlines jet while it was in flight. But of course, that puts even more pressure on the company to make urgent changes. Now, Boeing has 6 months to address the report and come up with an action plan. Boeing's CEO has already said his company will learn from these findings, and he is set to meet with the head of the FAA today. The federal government is suing to block the largest supermarket merger in history. The FTC is hoping to put a stop to Kroger's $25 billion bid for rival Albertsons. In its suit, the FTC warns the deal is going to lead to higher food prices, lower quality products, and less competitive wages for workers, all because the fierce competition between Kroger and Albertsons will go away. The companies have said they plan to address those concerns by selling hundreds of stores, but the FTC says even that won't solve the problem. Now, Kroger and Albertsons are fighting the lawsuit. They say their combined company would actually just create a stronger competitor to go up against the likes of Amazon, Walmart, and Costco. That would actually mean lower prices, higher wages, and more. Kroger operates more than 2,700 grocery stores, including its namesake locations, and regional chains like Fred Meyer and Ralph's. Albertsons runs 2,300 supermarkets, including the chain Safeway. Thanks to the largest gift ever made to an American medical school, tuition at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine in the Bronx will now be free. 93-year-old Dr. Ruth Gottesman made the generous donation. She used to be a professor at the New York City Med School and is the current chair of the board. Her late husband was an early investor in Berkshire Hathaway and founded a prominent investment house. And after his death, he left money in her name. So she decided to give it back to the school. She donated $1 billion with instructions that the gift be used to cover tuition for all the students moving forward. That's one of the largest charitable donations to any education institution in the U.S., as well as the largest to a medical school. It's especially notable for a school in the Bronx that ranks as the unhealthiest county in New York. So now Dr. Gottesman says she's excited to see the doctors who train at Einstein to go on to provide the finest healthcare to communities in the Bronx and beyond. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Trivia Tuesday, when we ask a different trivia question every week. But first, a quick break. Taking care of your health is not always easy, but it should at least be simple. And that's why for almost a year now, I've been drinking AG1 every day. It's just 1 scoop mixed in water once a day, every day, and it helps me feel accomplished and nourished first thing in the morning. And that is something that truly sticks with me throughout my day. Since I've been drinking AG1, I've noticed improved digestion and even support for mental clarity. Each serving of AG1 delivers my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre- and probiotics, and more. And I appreciate that it's hydrating, too. And I know that I'm giving my body high-quality nutrition because every batch of AG1 goes through a rigorous testing process so you know it's safe. If there's one product I had to recommend to elevate your health, it's AG1. And that's why I partnered with them for so long. So if you want to take ownership of your health, start with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of Vitamin D3+K2 and 5 free AG1 Travel Packs with your first purchase exclusively at drinkag1.com/newsworthy. That's drinkag1.com/newsworthy. Check it out. Okay, now back to Trivia Tuesday. Today's trivia question is, how many folds are in a chef's hat? You can play along with us in our weekly roundup email that comes out each Friday. As for last week's trivia question, what do bears do in hibernation? The answer is live in a metabolic state. The common belief is that they're sleeping the whole time, but that's actually not true. Hibernation really just means bears don't need to eat or drink, and they rarely go to the bathroom for months at a time. Bears have developed unique strategies to be able to pull that off. They find or build a safe den, lower their body temperatures 8 to 12 degrees, and break down fat stores for energy. Before hibernation time, they eat a lot, like up to 20,000 calories a day, and put on a lot of weight, which they typically lose during the winter. In colder regions, bears hibernate about 7 months of the year. But in warmer areas, it's more like 2 to 5 months. And really, if food is around and winter isn't too severe, bears don't need to hibernate at all. That's typically the case for bears in zoos. Though even then, bears will slow down and sleep more than usual. Hibernation is also a time for mama bears to give birth and for baby bears to grow enough to be able to re-enter the wild in the spring. All right, thank you so much for listening. We will be back with another news roundup tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.